Hi, everybody. This is Randi Weingarten, and I am coming to you from New York City, but I will be with Rosemary Boland tomorrow in Scranton, and I will be with Jodi Barschow on Monday in Oregon, in Portland, Oregon, Portland and Salem, and probably with, or definitely with Mia McIver on Wednesday at the University of California in LA. And I'm saying all this because this is not, a fun tour of the United States of America. This is about, as our saying goes, caring, fighting, and showing up for the people who are on strike or who will probably be on strike this coming week. And so we thought it was important to actually make sure our membership actually knew what these battles were about, heard from our local leaders, and heard their ask in terms of what we need. Now, I know that a lot of us have been calling last month's Striketober because of the John Deere strike and the Kellogg strike, and because of so many other issues. But all of this is very reflective of the fact that in this last 2 years, during the period of COVID, frontline providers, whether they worked in manufacturing like Deere or Kellogg's, who actually put food on the table for so many people, or whether they worked as nurses and healthcare providers as they do in Kaiser, or whether they worked as educators in a district that's been taken over by the state as they have in Scranton. Whatever the individual circumstances are, and in Scranton, there's been 5 years without a contract because the former administration had put people in such terrible mismanagement and such a pickle that they were taken over by the state. And the first thing the state did was essentially, or they have been taken over in recovery by the state. And the first thing the state did was basically cut services for kids and try to basically do what they did on the backs of teachers and kids. And you can see that by their failure to negotiate a contract for 5 years. But whatever it is, the issue is that workers have been working through this pandemic, through all of these crises, doing what we need to do to help people, nurses and healthcare providers in Kaiser. While Kaiser was raking in the dough, Kaiser actually made more money last year than Amazon. And so we have a situation where everything else has been exhausted. We've tried to negotiate fair contracts with our employers. Even an employer like Gavin Newsom and University of California, Mia McIver and others have been trying to negotiate because they are labor, they are adjuncts, and they are labor that is often overlooked, often not seen. So what we wanted to do today is we really wanted to make sure that our membership really heard what these strikes or what these conflicts or what this tension is about in these three places. And none of us can do this alone. Rosemary can't do it alone. Jodi can't do it alone. Mia can't do it alone. And we can't even do it with our great bargaining teams and our membership that showed up so much on the lines and at a rally that I was with Ro on last Thursday in front of the administrative building, the huge rally that Jodi had just, I think, a couple of weeks ago in Portland, the rallies that Mia has had. It's not just about a rally. It's not just about a strike. It is about all of us coming together as a union, as a family, in order to actually help those people who are in the most vulnerable state, those people who have decided that they can't do anything at the bargaining table without withholding their services, where they are brought to the brink of saying that they want to be in the classrooms, they want to be on floors of a hospital ward, they want to be doing what they need to do. and what they want to do and what they love to do, but the employer has to treat them fairly, and that hasn't happened in these situations. So I want to just tell you up front before I ask Rosemary and then Jodi and then Mia to speak. I want to tell you that there are ways that you can help. I'm looking at my notes to make sure I get this right. And one of the ways that you can help, and many of you have done this already, is you can take a solidarity picture or get involved on social media. We've had a lot of solidarity pictures of people, of saying that we support this local, supports the Scranton local. We put as many of them as we can see and find on our AFT Twitter page and Facebook page. But you can also, so that's something you can do, and that's going to be really important. It's really important for Scranton right now. And if Kaiser goes on strike, it will be really important on Monday for Kaiser, and it's going to be really important for UC on Wednesday. And so that's Monday the 15th, and that's Wednesday the 17th. But you can also donate to the strike funds to support our folks. And it's on top of AFT.org. I know that Adam is going to put the link on here as well, and there's a link there to donate. And there's a place on that link, if you want to do that, to indicate if you want to support specific strikers or just a general fund. And let me tell you what we do. We make sure that strikers can take out loans, that we pay for the interest. We make sure that we support and fund the local. We're working with Jodi right now, for example, on an air campaign, on an air war, on radio ads. We've been doing the same thing in terms of Rosemary and Scranton. So we've been paying for and funding through union dues, all sorts of other things. We want to make sure we are all in and make sure that these things are successful, these strikes are successful. But we also know there's hardship issues. We know, for example, that in Scranton, one of the venal things that the board and the state takeover did in Scranton was they took away people's health care. And we already know that one of our members has had surgery, I think today or tomorrow, and the district denied, the district is self-insured, denied the prescription drug claim. Now, we embarrassed the district, and the district has now said that they will hold everybody harmless because of the work and the strength of our Scranton local and the support they've gotten from the community. But when I say a hardship fund, these are the kinds of things that we're going to do in terms of the hardship fund. And say we don't have a strike in terms of Kaiser, we only have a strike in terms of Scranton. Say that happens and we have all of a sudden so much money in the fund. I would like that day to have that happen. But then we're going to use that fund. We convert it always to disaster relief, to doing what we need to do. That fund, that strike fund, that disaster fund is only to help in terms of the hardship of our members. And because it has wide berth to be used for whatever we can use it for, we can actually make sure that it goes directly to the needs of the members. So let me turn to, there's a lot of other things I could talk about the last elections, about what happened on Tuesday, what happened elsewhere, but I really do want to focus on this. We are in a situation in this country where it is the difference between chaos and community. And our educators in Scranton, yes, I told you that they haven't had a raise in 5 years. The outgoing school board, because they just elected, frankly, our Scranton local with our help and with obviously the help of and support of the community, they had just elected 4 new school board members. But that outgoing school board and the local recovery officer is making these teachers and paraprofessionals pay for their years of mismanagement. They've closed an elementary school. They've cut pre-K and band. And there's now a massive staff shortage because, shock, no one wants to teach, or very few people want to teach in this condition. They've lost about 100 people already because of these conditions. Scranton teachers make at least $11,000 less than teachers around Pennsylvania. Paras are about $5,000 less. The salaries are almost 20% less than the statewide average. And the healthcare proposal currently on the table is crap. It is basically taking away healthcare. But at the same time, does this surprise you? Top level administrators took care of themselves with a 25% raise. There's a word my grandmother taught me, which is chutzpah. This is chutzpah on steroids. And so last week, the Pennsylvania Budget and Policy Center released a report saying unequivocally the state of Pennsylvania is underfunding education in Scranton as well as some other districts and undermining the quality of the schools. They said that what the state is doing is managing its decline as opposed to actually envisioning how to lift up districts like Scranton. And there's a rare opportunity now to use all those federal funds, the American Rescue Plan funds that the kid from Scranton made sure got through the Congress, Joe Biden, and use those funds to turn around the school system and to do this, to deal with these issues right now. I'll quote the report. Under the current recovery plan, the school district has stayed on a declining path, which is a dead end for the city, its families, and its school children. It also said that each decision to reduce current deficits has an academic or a social cost and further compromises the future of the district's students and the city. And that is why that's why they're on strike. There's a way to deal with this contract. It's called the American Rescue Plan. And there's a will on the Scranton teachers and paras to be there and to help and to actually lift up the school system. But that doesn't happen with the Scranton School Board. And that's why they're on strike. And that's why I want to give and want to yield the rest of my time until I get to Kaiser to Rosemary Boland, who's just off a candlelight vigil in Scranton. Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you for all your leadership. Rosemary Boland, the president of the Scranton Federation of Teachers.
Everyone for tonight, giving us an opportunity to share with you what's been going on in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I know most of you know our city because you probably watched, as did millions of Americans, the program The Office. And that building that they called Dunder Mifflin is catty corner from the building I'm sitting in right now. It's not really The Office, though. This is The Office where I'm sitting. So everything Randi just reviewed for you is true, and it is really wicked right now. We did just have a beautiful candlelit vigil tonight. We had a wonderful speaker, Helen Ginn from Philadelphia. She's marvelous. 20 years she's been battling this fight for everybody in Pennsylvania, and she stood with us this evening. It was wonderful. I got back to the office to prepare for this town hall tonight, and the next thing I knew, I just had a member call me crying. She had just had surgery, and her husband went to pick up her script at the drugstore, and she was denied. The druggist said, "You don't have any access at this drugstore anymore." So she called me, and I said, no, that's not correct. It should go through. Well, it didn't go through. So it's this hour of the night here in Scranton. And so we huddled around here quickly, got her on the phone. Her husband just came down here to our office so we could give him the cash to go and get her script that she needs to manage her pain tonight after just having surgery this week. This kind of low down practice has never been done here in our city before. We've never met up with people that are this just plain mean. I know Randi used what her grandmother taught her, but I won't say it in Gaelic because maybe there are people out there who could translate that. So I won't say it. I won't say what I was going to say in Gaelic. But I will say that the support from AFT has been unbelievable. Everything that I could possibly imagine has been done tenfold. And this union will never forget all the help we've received. We have had a recovery officer here appointed by our governor, Tom Wolf. She was supposed to come in here and help us get the book straightened out in the Scranton School District and get us on the path to what they call recovery. Well, instead of doing that, she has really taken control of the school board and even their minds. They're mindless right now. So we've closed a building, as Randi said. They've also started to make tremendous cuts to education. In our opinion, every single move they've made in Scranton, Pennsylvania, not only does it stand in opposition to the President of the United States, who, as you all know, was born and raised here in Scranton, a man that I introduced in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and our locals supported him from the beginning. But the cuts are in every single solitary subject area. The cuts are even to graduation requirements. And I find it ludicrous, insane actually, to think that we closed our libraries and we do not have librarians. So we have these gorgeous libraries in each of our schools, beautiful books, and the students have no librarian, and they want us to improve our literacy scores. It seems to me like that's from another galaxy far, far away. There's no way this makes sense to anybody in education. They furloughed our paraprofessionals, 144 paraprofessionals during COVID. And then 3 days later, they called here, they said, oh, we have to bring them back in. But we're not bringing all of them back in. We're only going to bring back the ones we're going to send them into the homes. I said, how are you sending people into the homes during COVID? Well, we have to because we're getting sued. Our IEPs aren't being filed. We're getting sued. So I said, well, then why did you furlough 144 people? That's not making any kind of sense. Well, they did it and they said that's too bad. And so then we end up filing for grievance arbitrations, and those have been settled in our favor. Our paras have been made whole. And now we have paras that are leaving our district to take jobs in other districts where they will earn more money. We have teachers leaving the district to go 10 minutes away from this district and make $10,000, sometimes $15,000 more in salary than they make here. They've taken our health care away. They've never done that in this district during a strike, never. And so they decided to go mean. They did not have to cut health care here for the teachers and paraprofessionals. They just did it to invoke a mean message and to make us afraid. Well, you're all AFT folks out here, and you know what I'm about to tell you is true for AFT. They don't scare us. And when they try to bully us, we treat the bullies the same way we treat bullies at school, how we teach our kids to treat bullies, how we handle bullies. So we've been taking action after action here in Scranton, and our whole city has come alive. Last week, as Randi referenced, I did something I never did before. I had to stand in a pickup truck so that I could talk to the crowds that had assembled all over the street. And Randi did the same. We were helped, thank God, by some strong union men in my local to help us into that pickup truck to speak to the crowd. But it was something to behold. One of our former mayors spoke. Randi spoke. I spoke. Art Steinberg from Pennsylvania spoke. Malcolm Kenyatta from Philadelphia spoke. Unbelievable support from the community, from the parents. They are literally driving to every picket location and donating food supplies and water, just strong support in general to encourage everybody. They have taken our signs saying that we support Scranton teachers, and they're putting them in their windows. And it's just something to behold. Tonight, I was really taken, Randi, with the candlelit vigil. We had little kids with us. The teachers brought their babies in their strollers, and it was beautiful. We had a wonderful, wonderful turnout, and the people are pepped up. They're ready to go. We're taking a field trip to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania on Wednesday to meet with the rest of our reps who are standing with us. The entire caucus, the Democratic caucus in Harrisburg, will be with us on Wednesday, and it's just phenomenal. Tomorrow, we're going to have several pickets all over the city, and we're going to be joined here by, of course, Randi Weingarten, who never lets us forget that she's our strong leader and she's with us all the time. We don't even ask, she just calls and says, I'm coming. And we also have a man, Lieutenant Governor Fetterman, who contacted this office today, and he wants to be with us. He said he stands with Scranton teachers also. So we're getting the kind of support we have, but we have 9, I guess in the olden days you would say dunces. So 9 dunces on our school board that don't realize what they should be doing is sitting down at a table to negotiate where both sides are equal. And we sit down and we hammer this out and we get a deal done. But as long as we have these ninnies on our school board who don't know what it means to negotiate, don't understand the process, they're just making mistake after mistake after mistake. And it is our hope that somebody much higher up than I am would say to them, wake up, sit down and learn to do what you're supposed to learn to do. And that is to talk to your people across the table and come to an agreement. And then we get the kids back in school. We want our students back in school. But at the rate this school board is going, it's taking too much time to get them to understand the process. And so that's where we are. And we want to thank you all again, especially for your support, your monetary support, your wonderful thoughts that you sent through email here. Phone calls here have been, it's overwhelming to realize that our whole AFT is such a strong union across the country, and then especially in Scranton. So Randi, I have to say thank you 1,000.
Thank you, Ro. Look, a part of why we're doing this today, before I put Jodi in, and I know you have to go back to something as well, but part of why we're doing this with all 3 is that people have to see your faces, and people and your members in Scranton have to see the love that we're seeing on Facebook, we're seeing on YouTube, we're seeing on Twitter, for the members in Scranton, for the members at Kaiser, for the members in UC. Mia's with us now. Mia represents Mia represents the basically the people who sorry, we starting to get a feedback loop here. Sorry. But these are the teaching faculty, the non-tenure track, both full and part-time in every University of California campus. Collectively, I'm just looking at my notes to make sure that I got this right. Your members, Mia, teach 1/3 of the credit courses across UC, and as high as 60% of some campuses. And so what's happening here is I want your members, Rose members, Mia's members, Jodi's members, who I'm going to call on Jodi in a minute. I want them to see the love that they're seeing and hearing all across our union. Our 3,500 locals are there with you, and our locals are going to support our brothers and sisters and other siblings in Scranton, at UC, and in Kaiser and OFNHP. I want you to feel that even through this remote video, the love that people have. And I want your members, who I hope are on as well, to see and to hear that together we rise, and together we can accomplish what is impossible to do alone. It is really hard, and it's really scary to be in this situation right now in the midst of having such chaos and divisiveness all across America. But we are with you. So Rosemary, I'll be with you tomorrow as well. I want to make sure that people know the ask from Scranton is because of these situations of where they cut the healthcare. The ask of Scranton is that we fund a strike fund, and we make sure that we can help make our members whole in terms of healthcare and food and things like that. And that's the ask in terms of Scranton. The rest of it, we got it. We need you to take pictures, put those pictures on Twitter and Facebook, and donate if you can to the strike fund. And so I want to call on Jodi right now so thank you, Ro. So Jodi Barschow is the president of OFN-HP, which I always have to practice saying that because I'm like, OFN-HP, OFN-HP. But it is the Oregon Federation of Nurses and Health Professionals, where about 3,400 of her members are employed in Kaiser. Now, Kaiser, pretends to be, and sorry, I know that I should be much nicer about the partnership, but I'm sick and tired of Kaiser pretending to have a partnership and then doing what they did in terms of our nurses and other healthcare professionals in this last few years of COVID. They should be better than anybody else about safe staffing, and they are not. They say that they are about a labor management partnership. And there have been years where they have been, and there have been times where they have been, but it feels like they have taken a page out of the hospital enterprises and the healthcare enterprises that believe in profits over patients. And what they're doing is they're competing with these big monolith healthcare enterprises. And frankly, it appears like they're competing with Amazon to see who can get richer. And so ultimately, what we see in terms of, sorry, I'm shuffling papers, there are 40,000 healthcare workers who they gave their 10-day notice, as you have to do in healthcare. Oregon is part of the whole coalition of unions that work in Kaiser facilities, including those of you who are in Kaiser on the East Coast. And there are 40,000 workers. They gave their 10-day notice to start a strike on November 15th, unless these negotiations improve. A total of 52,000 nurses, professional service and technical workers represented by, and you see the litany of unions that represent workers at Kaiser: AFSCME, AFT, IBT, ILWU, IUOE, UFCW, Unite Here, and USW. So it's from AFSCME to Steel to Teamsters to the UFCW to Unite Here to us. And we're at hospitals and clinics from Georgia, Maryland, Virginia, DC, Colorado, California, Oregon, Washington, and Hawaii are impacted by these negotiations. Now, these workers risked their lives during COVID. These folks have been on the front line during COVID. You talk to our nurses and healthcare members about what things were like in March and April of 2020. These were the heroes and the sheroes. And instead of actually helping them and negotiating a decent wage and dealing with the agita and with the anxiety that people now have, Kaiser is basically saying there's basically trying to negotiate a two-tier wage situation. They're basically turning their back on safe staffing, and they're basically not doing what they need to do in Oregon because Oregon has different laws than in California. It is so pathetic because Kaiser is stronger today than it was before the pandemic. So when all these other healthcare systems struggle to make ends meet, it was able to turn down COVID-19 relief money because of its strength. So what the hell are they doing by proposing a 1% wage increase and a two-tiered wage structure, which would lower wages for incoming workers by about 28% on the average? And if you hear the anger of my voice, it's because I am. They know better, and we shouldn't have to be forced to strike to an employer who has spent its life telling unions and others to use this health system because of this partnership. And so, without further ado, let me introduce Jodi Barschow to all of you. Sorry, Jodi.
No, that's okay, Randi. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, thanks for having me on. And your anger is just, it also has, ironically, a calming effect right now, I think, because I hear what you're saying. I hear what Rosemary is saying. And honestly, I had to echo everything that Rosemary was saying. We're so appreciative of all the support you have given Randi and through AFT. And, when I hear the stories of Rosemary, and we'll hear a little bit later. I think, it's so important to know that we have that community and that support behind us, and you have been absolutely instrumental in providing that support. So I can't thank you enough. So that said, it is very concerning, and I feel like we're at this pivotal moment. I'm here in California right now, stepping out of bargaining. We're at this pivotal moment, and I'm hearing from Rosemary too and others, with the education and healthcare issues and access and the parity, all of the issues that Rosemary described are so similar. So I just wanted to give a little bit about our background. For those that don't know, we've been negotiating with Kaiser for months, both at 6 local bargaining unit tables and at the national table. So we're here in California on the big economic work and workplace issues. And as Randi was mentioning, we're a part of a 21 union alliance of healthcare unions. So also, as you might have been hearing, Kaiser has pushed back on, every step of the way at these bargaining tables, at the local table, at the national table, walking away from things that they had agreed upon, racial justice proposals, coming with very few solutions. And it's been frustrating, to say the least, throughout this whole process. And they're doing nothing to address, Randi, while you're, so fired up. So many members are fired up about the same issue, and that is all about short staffing. So as far as that goes, when it came to economics, in light of everything that you mentioned, Randi, with the COVID, everything that people have been through before that, they came to the table offering 1%, now 2% raise. And they're trying to adapt this 2-tier system that would slash the wages of all incoming workers nationwide. And for any of you that understand that 2-tier system, it would just be disastrous, and it wouldn't do anything to solve these problems that we're all facing. So this is, as I mentioned, an absolute disaster for our care delivery system. It's already bringing, on the edge of destruction here. So we have to draw a line and have called a strike. We're on the strike timeline, 7 days to go, to push Kaiser to do the right thing for both our healthcare workers and our patients. That's one thing that you'll hear us say frequently. This is about the patients and fighting for the best patient care. So for what could be the largest private sector strike in American history, we're joining with the unions around the country in a strike that could hit 100,000 workers at the peak. If we win this, we will save the care system and create a new future for both patients and staff. If we lose, then Kaiser will send a message to all employers and healthcare administrators that we are not strong enough to stop their attacks on this care models that they're trying to implement and workplace democracy. So our workers have fought hard to save lives during COVID. I mentioned some of the stories again, because I feel like some of them are getting, it's past, and that was so long ago, and we need to get over it, kind of thing. And it's bringing back those stories from the beginning and what we all went through working on the front line. And it's not over. It's still happening. There was such a disconnect, of course, from the top people making the most money to really understanding what people went through. Our workers fought hard to save lives during COVID, and now we're fighting for the future of our healthcare system. So it is a pivotal moment. And honestly, like I said before, too, a lot of similarities with the education pathway as well. So we are set to strike starting on November 15th with an open-ended strike along with UNAC and United Steelworkers in California. Other unions both in and out of the alliance are following soon, bringing us to 40,000 workers. And then we have pharmacists, engineers, and others in California that will bring us to unprecedented numbers. So we will need support from all of you to support our strike funds, to put pressure on Kaiser leadership, to show that replacement workers will never be able to replace our experienced staff. And we just can't highlight that enough. So we need to show Kaiser we are strong so we can win this thing, get back to work. That's where we want to be. Honestly, I don't want to sit here in the offices of California here in Kaiser, but I want to be with you all. So, we want to get back to work, and we want them to come to the table, patient care in mind. All of this, like I said, such a pivotal moment in healthcare.
Thank you so much, Jodi. And we will be with you, as will, in spirit or in action or in person. And as I said, so many other of our members, regardless of where they work. We have a lot of public sector members that work in healthcare. We have a lot of higher education members that work in healthcare. And everyone is watching what is happening in terms of Kaiser. And I'm glad that we have been able, I'm glad you're in LA right now. I'm glad we have been able to be supportive, but I want to be with all of you next week in California or Oregon or wherever you all are, because, as the representative of all of us, because we care, we fight, and we want to show up for all of you. I want to just introduce Mia now. Mia is, hey Mia, this is Mia's contract that she's negotiating, right?
This is the first contract where I'm the lead negotiator, but I was part of the bargaining team for the 2015, 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the first contract that she's the lead negotiator. And so I don't know what's happening, but I'm hearing me on your, or maybe I should do something. Maybe you should just use your button, your mute button, if we can do that. So I'm hearing, yeah. Okay. So this way we don't hear an echo. Thank you. So I want to just, again, just like we're not on strike yet in Kaiser, we're not on strike yet at UC. I think I heard that you just came from a bargaining session and that it's starting to look better. But let's just make sure that people know what's going on in terms of UC. So Mia is the president of the University Council. It's AFT Local 1474. She happens to teach, and she'll tell you, literature and writing as a lecturer at UCLA. But they represent, as I said before, over 6,000 teaching faculty, non-tenure track, both part and full time. Many times we call this the precarious labor, the labor that really is the backbone of a university. Tenured faculty are no longer the backbone of a university. And what happens is that precarious labor, full and part-time faculty, are treated terribly. And oftentimes, there's no job security. There's a whole lot of questions from year to year. What's going to happen from semester to semester? What's going to happen? And this is not, there's lots of jobs that are not easy gigs, but these are jobs that sometimes you have to cobble together 2 and 3 and 4 jobs to have a decent living. And so you are running around from campus to campus or from place to place, not having office hours sometimes, not having healthcare sometimes. And so part of the reason that adjunct faculty, full-time faculty, part-time faculty have joined together is because of the precarity of all of this. You would think that in a university, they would treat their faculty the way in which we want our students to be treated, but it's far from the truth in so many times, which is part of the reason why we have a union. They began bargaining, as I understand it, in 2019, obviously hamstrung by COVID, and had to negotiate a side agreement. And what's happened over the course of time is that the university basically was obstinate and obstreperous and just basically really disrespectful. And so in the summer, 96% of the members authorized a strike. And ultimately, the president of UC has lots of lots of authority to negotiate, but frankly, up until a strike being set for next Wednesday and Thursday, it was slow poke, not doing what they needed to do and not taking the union as seriously as they should, despite the Herculean efforts of the union's organizing committee. And notice, for those of you who don't know California, it's a big state with a lot of campuses and a lot of geography to go. And so I'm going to ask Mia to talk about the issues, but job stability, the kind of temporary status that people have, the compensation in 6 out of the 9 counties where UC campuses are located, the starting full-time lecturer pay qualifies as low income for a one-person household, with a median lecturer making $20,000 a year. And of course, there's the workload issue. So what you're seeing is the exploitative nature of how UC, a great university, basically treats 60% of its teaching staff. And so without further ado, let me turn it over to Mia. And thank you, Mia, for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Randi. I'm so delighted to be here. I've just come from a very intense bargaining session. We've got some more scheduled for next week, so we'll see if we can make any progress. But our bargaining campaign started, long before bargaining did, with really wide and deep engagement of our members, with town halls, with listening sessions, with surveys, because we wanted to put forward the demands that mattered the most to our members. But I remember the moment when I first knew that we could do this, and it was Randi standing with you at an AFSCME 3299 strike rally, where you showed up to stand in solidarity with service and patient care workers at the University of California. And I shared with you my hopes for this campaign, and you looked me in the eye and said, we will do it hand in hand, and we have been. So I'm absolutely thrilled to be here today and to share more about what's happening with everybody. As Randi said, we represent about 6,000 contingent teaching faculty at all UC campuses, at 9 UC campuses across the state. We do about 1/3 of the teaching. That rises to as much as 60% on some campuses. And we've been in negotiations with our administration for 2.5 years over a new contract, because that's what it takes to solve some of the huge issues we face. I should note that our negotiations have gone on so long that the administration in the Office of the President has actually changed. And President Michael Drake is now the leader of the University of California. So he is the person to whom we are targeting all of our pressure, because he has the authority to really make the changes that we need. We are contingent faculty. We're part-time faculty. We're adjuncts. We don't have the protections of tenure. Most of us don't even know if we'll have a job to return to at the end of each year. I myself was in that position for more than a decade. And a quarter of all lecturers at the university are churned out each year. So arbitrarily, without explanation, without justification, people are losing their jobs. And so under the current system, UC management can simply, not renew our contracts for any reason, for no reason at all. And so ending this gigification of the university is a real key priority for us. And we really see our campaign, not just about ourselves and even not just about our students, but about the whole system of higher education, in particular the whole system of public higher education in our country, nationwide. where, higher institutions of higher education have come to rely so heavily on cheap teaching labor. At the UC, we as lecturers face abysmally low pay, especially considering the qualifications we need to do the work that we do and the high cost of living here in this state. The median annual salary for our members is about $20,000 a year. Many members are scrabbling together multiple jobs, freeway flying, looking for benefits from one employer or another and not getting them. Another key issue for us is workload. Our current contract does not have a clear and enforceable definition of our workload. And that might not sound like a big deal, but what it means is we do countless hours of unpaid labor. We also have no effective means to push back when there's a problem. The final say of any workload dispute is in the hands of UC management. And it also means that our workloads can be exploited to keep us out of benefits eligibility. So the workload piece of this puzzle is a big one for us. So as you can hear, for a lot of reasons, we're fired up, we're ready to act. A few months ago, we held a strike authorization vote. 96% of members voted to authorize a strike to win the great contract that we need. A few weeks ago, we held informational pickets on all UC campuses. And that was the first thing, the courage to really come out, be visible, be public, hold those signs, chant those chants, march those marches. That was the first thing that really pushed President Michael Drake's administration to improve their proposals. So we know we can do it because we see it getting done. But President Drake has to do better. So I'd like to ask for all of your help. Right now, you can go to bit.ly/emaildrake. I'd like to ask everybody watching now to go to that link, bit.ly/emaildrake. Write an email to our president. The template is there for you. You can click send. Every letter makes a difference. So that there you see it, the link is on the screen, bit.ly/emaildrake. If we could get a tweet storm going also, that would be amazing. Tweeting at President Drake to settle the lecturer's contract. His Twitter handle is @UCPresDrake. That's with a Z, UCPres with a Z, Drake. So if you're on Twitter right now, do like Randi does and tweet about your commitments. So finally, I want to just say something that's slightly separate, well, entirely separate from the actual contract campaign. And that is the unfair labor practices that Drake's administration has committed. President Drake's negotiators are refusing to bargain with us in good faith over paid family leave and over other issues. And as you can imagine, with the fate of paid family leave hanging in the balance in Build Back Better, UC management's refusal to bargain over it is of enormous concern for lecturers who are majority women. Our members are really angry about the administration undermining our collective bargaining rights because it's an indication of the overall lack of respect for us and our work. A strike over this bad faith would be completely separate from the terms of the contract. It would be not to settle the contract, but it would be to demand that the UC management fulfill their duty under the law and bargain with us in good faith. Because, my message to President Drake is now's the time to turn this around and to set a course towards educational justice, towards labor justice, and towards a university that is fully dedicated to and fully supportive of teaching and learning.
Okay, did everybody get the site that Mia said? bit.ly/email Drake. And I will, as soon as this is over, Mia, I will do a tweet myself. I'm not going to do a tweet as we're doing the town hall because that would be rude, but I will do it right as soon as it's over. And look, I think that I'm hopeful that everybody has seen tonight that we are all in, and that one of the attributes of a union and our union is that when people are, at the precipice, and when they are taking actions that require sacrifice, or when we have the most vulnerable, we form the kind of community around them. We believe the people who are against us may believe in chaos and polarization and division. We believe in community. We understand we all rise together or we all fall together. That's the sense of solidarity and unity. And we have to be particularly intentional when we have a unit, a group of our siblings who are actually going through a strike or a really contentious contract campaign, or really or trying to fight for justice and for opportunity. And that's what you've seen tonight with all three of these leaders speaking on behalf of their members. We need to, and I want you to tell our members this, Mia. I want our members to know that they are seen by their colleagues all across the country. I want our members to know that we are there virtually or in person with them, walking together in their shoes, rooting for them, fighting this fight, tweeting at Drake, doing what we need to do to make sure that our members get a fair contract. This is, on some levels, with what we saw happen on Tuesday and what we've seen in terms of the fight just to get a bipartisan infrastructure deal done, the fight to get Build Back Better. We are in the fight of our lives. We're in a fight against misinformation. We're in a fight against a big lie. We're in a fight against a backlash. We're in a fight where people use things like this big lie to undermine the rights of others. We're in a huge fight throughout the country. And ultimately, it's a fight for the soul of the country and the way we value the people who actually are the front line in our economy, the front line in education, the front line in healthcare, and how we make sure that working folks get their piece of the American pie. Working folks who work for universities, who help create opportunity for others, working folks who were at the bedside during COVID and who need to make sure that they have the staffing and the kind of conditions they need to do their jobs in the future. Working folks who work as teachers in Scranton, a district that is as hard scrabble as it comes. And instead of a state managing decline, a state should be innovative and creative enough to manage how we rise. This is what we're doing today in these strikes and in these stories. And I just want our members who are on strike or are thinking about being on strike to know their union supports them 1,000%. And I want our other members to know we are all in. We're all in terms of politics and getting the Build Back Better piece of the infrastructure plan done, Biden's Build Back Better piece. We're all in it in terms of fighting for voting rights and making sure that people have the right to vote and that every vote is counted correctly. And we're all in making sure that this is a better union, us as an AFT, but the union in terms of America, a fairer America, a better America, one that believes in what the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence say about life, liberty, and the pursuit of justice done as we, the people, all of the people. And what you're all doing, Rosemary, who's not here anymore, Jodi and Mia, in representing our members, you are making the American dream real for them in your courage and in your leadership and in their activism as part and parcel of these locals. So thank you very, very much, both of you, and Rosemary and Abstentia, and you know we're all backing you.